Now I'm going to go through quickly yesterday's without spending too much time, and then we come to today's portion. So remember that this is the sixth chapter called the Yoga of Meditation, Abhyasa Yoga or Dhyana Yoga. And starts with Krishna talking to Arjuna. Now, many chapters start with Sri Bhagavan Vacha, which means now Krishna is talking. Now, the word Bhagavan in Sanskrit simply is a term of respect. Even if someone is highly placed and respected, it can be addressed Bhagavan. It need not mean the Supreme God also. But even if someone is a saint or someone is wise, it's like saying Lord in English, Lord. It refers to the Supreme Lord. It also refers to somebody on whom the queen has put the sword, on now the king, and declared a Lord. Okay. So Bhagavan means a term of respect that you address to somebody. Here, Sri Bhagavan Vacha, Krishna is speaking. Uvacha means speaking. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. So the first one started with saying, we discussed it. Any more questions we will discuss in the evening, question answer session. We have one today, right? It is a man, I always say man, it is the person who performs his duties without dependence on the fruits that deserves to be called a sannyasin, a monk, a renouncer, and a yogin, not the one who does nothing and avoids all work. This is the starting point. And then the second, well, we discussed yesterday thoroughly, so I'm not going to discuss. We need to go to the next. So you may have some more questions. Evening we will discuss. Second, O son of Pandu, what is called sannyasa or renunciation is not different from yoga or the discipline of selfless action. For whoever has not abandoned the subtle, the fine hankerings and self-centered objectives cannot be called a yogi or a practitioner of spiritual communion through performing his activities. Which means Krishna says to Arjuna, you cannot call somebody a yogi who is still not free from being self-centered all the time, who has subtle hankerings, need not be gross hankerings, but even subtle hankerings, and self-centered objectives only. Well, everybody is expected to have some self-centered objectives. When it's exclusively self-centered and one doesn't think of anybody else, then such a person cannot become a yogi or a practitioner of spiritual communion, even though he may be working all the time. We know a lot of people who are workaholics. This is not what is meant here. They they can't sit quiet for 1 minute. Even when they sit quiet. So, such a person cannot become a yogi because his mind is not at rest. A yogi is one who in the midst of all the work that he's doing or she is doing, mostly also work for others, the mind remains quiet and not agitated. This is a yogi. So yogi works, but his mind is not agitated. And because the mind is not agitated, the work is usually better. When the mind is agitated, you don't have the energy or the one pointedness even to do ordinary work. Right? So, third, one who desires to ascend the path leading to the heights of spiritual communion, herein referred to as yoga, detached work is the means, the way of reaching. Because Krishna is aware here that nobody can remain without working. Something or the other is going on. And if you say, I'm not working, I'm lazy, then the brain becomes more active. It's a devil's workshop. Yeah. So this is understood. There is a compulsion to do something, work, at least think about doing something, which goes on and on and on in the head. So Krishna says here that the way to reach a spiritual experience, spiritual evolution, is to stop this moving, this constant chattering of the mind, even while you're engaged in this world, in the work that you have to do, which you cannot escape. So, now, for one who has already reached that tranquil spot of unagitated mind, he is exempted from any work. He doesn't have to do anything. But now is the problem. One should not mistake laziness as samadhi. You know, since we are on the subject, I wanted to just skip through what I think I need to explain a little more, which we missed yesterday. The Sankhya philosophy is one of the oldest schools of thought in ancient India. There are 6 schools of thought, main schools of thought. They're called the darshanas, the 6 darshanas. 6, the word 6 in Sanskrit is shad. So shad darshanas, which means there are 6 schools of thought in ancient India, main schools of thought. Now, start with, you're not going to all that, but Vedanta is also a school of thought. Vaisheshika is a school of thought. Vaisheshika philosophy, school of thought is almost atheistic because it talks about the world being produced with atoms and things like how they discovered that 2000 years ago, I don't know. But yes, the Nyaya philosophy, school of thought, which Nyaya means logic, also justice. And then we have Sankhya, which is also a very old school of thought of the great teacher called Kapila. And then, of course, we have Vedanta. And the last school of thought, the last darshana, is the Yoga darshana, school of yoga, which was founded by Patanjali. These are the 6 darshanas. You see, yoga is the last one. Now, Sankhya is a very ancient school of thought, and it's so important, Kapila is so important, that Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita also declares, among the great teachers, consider me as Kapila. Kapila, if you translate into Sanskrit, is quite funny. It means blonde. Kapila, meaning one whose kesa, hair, is pila, yellow. Either he used a dye or I don't know. Maybe he went from somewhere, we don't know. Anyway, Kapila is ancient. And the terms used by Kapila, the darshana, the school of thought, is called Sankhya. Now, Sankhya also means numerals. So it's also quite mathematical in its approach. Now, Sankhya is a very ancient school of thought. And yoga, the darshana called yoga, which comes last, and Vedanta, and Vaisheshika, they all adopt terms from Sankhya. Because Sankhya is so elaborate that there are terms for everything. Well, first let me explain. Why is a school of thought called a darshana? A darshana, if I have to see you, if I say it in a dignified way, I will say, I would like to have your darshan. Which means, hey, all these are falling off. It doesn't matter. It's okay, it's okay. So, if I have to see you, I say, I need to have your darshan. Darshan means face to face. People say we go to temples, why? To have darshan. God. Darshan means face to face. So all the schools of thought have one aim, to find the truth, to find the reality. And they want to be face to face with the truth. Not enough if they read somewhere. They need to have it as an actual here and now understanding, a darshan. So therefore all the schools are called darshans. Now, including the Vaisheshika philosophy, which is 75% with the atheistic philosophy, talks about atoms, the world is created through chemical and so on and so forth, but still is looking for the truth. So it's called a darshana in a different way. So all this, believe me, is happening 2000 years ago. How they went there, we don't know. I have a theory. I think they were taught by somebody who doesn't belong to here. Anyway, so otherwise it's impossible. Now, one of the common terms adopted by all the schools of philosophy, including the Yoga Darshana, are the terms called Gunas. Guna, translated, would mean attribute. Attribute. Quality, attribute, guna. And Sankhya says there are 3 gunas. Yoga also agrees, Vedanta agrees. It says 3 gunas, which means 3 attributes which are common to everything on this earth. Outside this earth, we don't know at the moment, but on this earth, everything that is there, including us, including the mind, are governed by the 3 attributes called gunas. They are classified like this: Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna, Tamo Guna. Now, we start with Tamo Guna. We start this way. Now, all things on this earth, including human beings, and animals of course, but human beings particularly, because we have this intelligence to think, to justify, all of us have all the 3 attributes in different proportions. It's not that somebody doesn't have any of the attributes of, for instance, Tamo Guna. Everybody has, but in different proportions. Depending upon what predominates, we say that person is sattvic, or rajasic, or tamasic. Depends on what predominates, which quality, which attribute predominates. Everything is there, but in different proportions. Okay. Now, let's look at the thing called Tamo Guna, the attribute called tamas. Now, Tamo Guna definitely is needed by everyone, because without Tamo Guna you cannot sleep. So Tamo Guna is inertia, non-movement, sleep, ignorance, lethargy. It's also included in Tamo Guna, not wanting to do anything. And all thoughts which are detrimental to living beings. Like there are some people, believe me, there are, who cannot go to sleep without thinking badly at least about one person. They cannot sleep. This is a predominance of Tamogun, the attribute called Tamogun. But Tamogun is also necessary because without the quality called Tamo Guna, tamas, you cannot even sleep. Sleeping is part of Tamogun. Overeating is Tamogun. Eating foods which are sour and difficult to eat is also Tamogun. So these are the attributes. The mind also at times is in Tamogun. That is when it goes to sleep, and when it does harmful things to others, it's in Tamogun. Okay. Now what is Rajoguna, the second one? Rajoguna, Rajas means activity, movement. Now the only way to wake a person who is in Tamoguna all the time, which means inertia, trying to think badly, lazy, doesn't want to move, doesn't want to do anything, is through Rajogun. And what is Rajogun? It is activity. If a person is very active, if a person is overactive, they say it's too much of Rajogun. Now, activity can be good and activity can be bad, right? When the activity becomes harmful to others or is negative and produces only lethargy, then that Rajogun is leaning towards Tamogun. That attribute is leaning towards tamas. If the activity is good activity, like you're always alert, you want to smile, you don't want to frown. And even if you see somebody in a bad state, you want to lift the person up. Come here, we are in a beautiful world, and things like that. Then that activity, of course, all activity falls under Rajas. It's called Sattva. Now the Rajoguna, Rajas is leaning towards Sattva. And what is Sattva? Sattva is goodness. Sattva is tranquility. Sattva is peacefulness. Sattva is balanced. Unfortunately, it has a little bit of semblance to Tamogun. Tamogun also in inertia, you're lazy, you might think you're in a high spiritual state. You're not in Sattva, not you, I mean, it's in Tamogun. So some people don't do any work, they say, oh, we are very spiritual. No, that is the inertia, the tamas that is pulling one down. And from tamas, rajas makes you work. So all the practices that you do, including meditation, breathing, pranayama, all this take you out of Tamoguna and put you on to Sattva-guna. Sattva-guna is goodness, peace, tranquility, moving closer to your inner being. So these are the three gunas. A person who has very much advanced and touched the essence of one's being is free of all gunas. Even he is not part of Sattva-guna. Such a person or such a being is called Gunatita, one who is beyond all gunas. Which means he can use what guna is necessary at a particular time by his choice, not be carried away. So this is the philosophy of guna. Why did I say that? Because here there is a reference. If you don't understand, then we don't know what we're doing. Tomorrow you might get a copy of the book and read without me. You shouldn't get stuck with what is this Rajoguna. For one who desires to ascend the path leading to the heights of spiritual communion, which is called yoga, detached work is the means. Here means sattvic work. Work is Rajo Guna, but going towards inner tranquility, trying to move towards that work then becomes detached work. That's why I explained to you. Because everybody says, oh, we are also working. Yeah, we're working, but are you looking at the quality of the work that one is doing? Are we moving towards the inner essence, to a spiritual understanding, or are we being pulled down? This is why I explained the Gunas, because everybody has some proportion. We have to watch and keep it clear. Okay? But those who have ascended it, they need no means, because they have already reached a tranquil state, which means they have overtaken the influence of the Gunas, attributes. They are called Gunatita. But you have to wait till then, till you become. The main danger usually is mistaking Tamo Guna for Sattva. Because in Tamo Guna also you are doing nothing, you are sleeping. Inertia. In Sattva also you are doing nothing, but that is different. I hope you get what I am trying to say. Tranquility is different from lethargy. Yes? When one ceases to be attached to the sense of objects, which means when one realizes the objects which we enjoy through our senses are temporary and not permanent, then you begin to get a little bit detached from it. Yes, you enjoy, but while you enjoy, you know that this is temporary. It can go off at any time. If you understand that and enjoy, then you are not perturbed if it goes off. Otherwise, if it goes off, oh, you've gone down, sunk to the Tamo Guna. You know that depression, despair. So common nowadays. People go to doctors and say, I'm going through depression. While we were wandering in the Himalayas with my master Maheshwarnath Babaji, some English educated person came to see us and he was talking and he said to Babaji, there is depression. So Babaji couldn't understand. He said, there is no sea here, there in the Himalayas, so what is the depression here? He thought the depression in the bay, in the water. So then he explained, my mind is down. Why? He said, you must be attached to something. And that which you are attached to has gone away. This is why you are in depression. So realize that all these are impermanent. They are things that are there today, may be gone tomorrow. So if you understand that, then your life is not dependent on what somebody is here or not here, but is always tranquil. That balance of mind, no matter what the circumstances, it's something which can be developed through practice. So, one ceases to be attached to sense objects and to one's actions. It's like I donate 1 million to some building a hospital or something. Okay, that's fine, very good. Then I insist that they put up a plaque there saying, this was donated by Sri M. Big brass plate. This is called being attached to one's actions. Well, you did the action, great. But then that you want to continue to be projected as the doer of the action, that is where the problem comes. And what happens? If those guys refuse to put up a plaque, I am very upset, I am very angry, give me back my donation. So the concern was not for the hospital, the concern was for proclaiming myself. Right? This is the difference. Yeah. So here we go. So when one ceases to be attached to sense objects and to one's actions, that is the example I gave you, attached to one's actions, one who has abandoned all subtle hankerings, which means I cannot exist or live in any place without eating idli and dosa. This is a subtle hankering, in the mind. When you come to a place, you eat the food which is available there and you're happy with it. No, I'm dreaming of dosas. The same thing happens otherwise. People go from the West to India, they get some. In the beginning they say, nice food, spicy, And then after 4 days, I wish I had some bread and butter. And the subtle hankerings because of habits created by the mind. Now that is all right, harmless. You can go and buy some bread. But there are subtler hankerings. More subtle. I'm enjoying, but I wish, somebody else was here for enjoying this. Subtle hankering. It's not kindness, it's just that your mind cannot stay happy without it. Not because you want to make somebody else happy. That's what we think, like to think. We are for ourselves. Somebody said he's going to start a political party. I said, what's the name of the party? He said, All for the Self Party. See, so, one who ceases to be attached to sense objects and to one's actions, that one who has abandoned all subtle hankerings and self-centered objectives, is said to have ascended the heights of spiritual communion. That person should be called a yogi, one who has reached the highest yoga possible. What is the corollary? A person who has attained the highest yoga possible is one whose mind has become tranquil. He is not always only doing self-centered activity, not one who can stand on his head for 1 hour at a stretch. That's not a great yogi. Well, if you stand for 1 hour on your head at a stretch, you get brain hemorrhage. Watch out, careful. Now, yesterday we also read this, specially noteworthy, really excellent yogi is he who is even-minded in his outlook on friend and enemy, friend and foe. The yogi has no enemies, but there may be enemies who don't like the yogi, but they are treated alike, friend or foe. Also strangers. A yogi does not think of a stranger as a stranger. You know why? Because even people who we know for years are actually strangers. You don't get this, right? Because every moment the mind can undergo a change. The person I see today may have the same form, but he may not be the same person, so he's a stranger. You get what we're trying to say? Every day the mind undergoes some change. The form may look the same. But the person I see today may not be the same person I saw some time back, because the mind has changed. So now I'm seeing a new person. And what is a new person called? A stranger? They're not saying it is right or wrong. They're only saying that for a yogi there is no familiar person or a stranger. They're the same. Because a familiar person also every minute becomes a new person. Nobody is remaining forever the same. The mind is keeping on changing. If the mind is not changing and remaining always the same, then it's a dead mind. It's not alive. It's natural. Right? So the yogi doesn't regards friend and stranger as one. You know what happens when we have too much friendship with somebody? Then somebody else becomes a stranger. Not easy, okay? Not easy. But they're saying this is how a yogi should be. One has to once in a while check if we really are. And he also looks equally on those who are good and those who are evil, because good and evil are decided by society generally, which may not be the truth. Each society has a definition of good, and each society has a definition of evil. Which one shall we choose? The poor human being is caught in it. So don't look at the human being as belonging to this or that group. They are same human beings. Then was started the practical instruction. 10. Let the yogi constantly practice spiritual communion, residing alone in a solitary spot. We discussed that yesterday. Desireless, without too many possessions, and disciplined in body and mind. Don't have to explain, we discussed thoroughly yesterday. And where should he sit, or where should the yogi sit? In a clean spot, which is neither too high nor too low. The seat should be made comfortable. We described yesterday, skin, cloth, not required, but any comfortable place where you can sit. It's always good to insulate yourself from the floor with something like this, with a rug or something. And always have something to sit on. Don't sit on the bare floor. Insulate yourself. So, a seat which should be made, which should be comfortable, but not luxurious. Because then, you know what happens. You begin by meditating, then in 2 minutes, snoring begins. So let it be comfortable, but not too comfortable that you feel, now I must lie down. It happens sometimes when you're meditating on the bed. You sit and meditate first. Now the bed is very comfortable. And it's the place where you have you use for sleeping. So all the sleep vibrations are there, right? So you sit and you start meditating. It's nice today. Now, meditation should be more effortless, so let me lie down. As everything, we know that. We all have some experience. Oh, lie down. Now it's nice, like Shavasana. Now I'm meditating. That's it. In 1 minute there is no meditation. From Sattva Guna you have gone to Tamo Guna. That's how you sleep. So while it should be comfortable and not create problems for your legs and so on, it shouldn't be so comfortable that you fall asleep. Firmly seated on it, the yogi should practice spiritual communion, yoga, with the mind concentrated and with the working of the imaginative faculty and the senses under control, at least for that time, for self-purification. Okay. Holding the body, the head and the neck erect, motionless and firm, gazing at one point. Here it said tip of the nose and not roundabout like this. Fearless. That's why you have to find the right spot. If you say I want to meditate in the forest, it's nice, but find a safe spot. Have a cabin made which can be closed if you can. Because here that danger is not there. You have only reindeer here. We are talking from India. The forest There are bears roaming in the forest. There are tigers in some forests. Real tigers. Yesterday I showed them 2 tigers which my kids went and saw 5 days ago in the forest. There are tigers, there are cobras. And there are, so safe, the word is used so that you sit in a safe place, free from all this. Brown bears. Didn't I tell you about the brown bears? I don't know whether we should go there or waste time. No?
Up to you.
Yeah.
Well, we'll finish it anyway. We have 2 more days. Lest you think it's my imagination, it was a reality. I almost died. I was, this is after I met Babaji, I was walking alone. Every now and then he sent me out. Go. The beginning I felt hurt. Then I realized that he is trying to make me fend for myself. Though I was too dependent on him. Babaji, I want food, I'm hungry. Oh, fend for yourself, get lost. So, so one of those days he said, go. Where are you going then? I said, I'm going to Gomukh. Gomukh is the place where the river Ganges comes from the glacier. It melts and comes, and the rock is shaped like the mouth of a cow. So it's called Gomukh. Mukh means face and go is a cow. So I said, I'm going there. Now that is a 2-day, 3-day walk from a place called Gangotri. Up to Gangotri, you can go by transport, cars, buses. From there, there's no way. You need to walk. Midway is a place called Chirbasa. Chirbasa is a forest. So I got very tired in the evening when I reached Chirbasa. I thought I cannot make it. And also night was approaching. How do you walk in the night? No torch, no nothing, no flashlight. So I looked on the right and nobody had told me there was a good line of caves there. I haven't written this in my autobiography, I think. There are many things I haven't written, of course. There's a line of caves on the right side. There's a small stream. So I thought maybe I will sleep in one of these caves and tomorrow morning we will go. It was cold. It's quite cold, colder than what it is here now. I had some blankets and things, necessary things. So I crossed the stream, went to the other side and looked, and all the caves were empty. So I thought maybe some yogis might have been here and gone somewhere. I chose one. When I went inside, the cave was smelling, stinking badly, and I was wondering what is this stink? We don't know what. It was really stinking. Anyway, I said, what to do? You have to sleep. So I lay down. It was a full moon night. And I lay down and said, so beautiful. I was hungry. I forgot about my hunger. It's so nice. There was the moon there outside. Suddenly the moon got covered by a shadow. I said, who's coming at this time? First I thought might be some yogi is coming. Then I look, it's a huge big figure. And then it clicked, what is the smell in the cave? I don't know, you may not have seen this. There are these big brown bears in the Himalayas. They're brown. A little bit white here, but they're brown. It's a huge fellow standing there. I said, finished. So I put up a silent prayer. Babaji, please take my soul to you. No escape, you can't run. He's there like this. Then he came inside. Now I have heard people say in the hills that if a bear comes to attack you, lie down like dead body and hold your breath. Because of my practice of yoga, I can hold my breath for a long time. So I just lay down, closed my eyes and held my breath. I don't know what was going to happen. I was praying, please take my soul to a good place. came near me, stinking, and did, that kind of sound? Big sound, like you do pranayam. Here I was holding my breath, praying silent. Sri Guru Bhyo Namaha. So, it smelled, I was silent, then there was silence, and I thought, if I open my eyes, maybe I thought he killed me, and when I open my eyes, I will be in heaven or somewhere. Definitely I won't go to hell, I haven't done such terrible things. So I opened my eyes, nobody was there. The fellow went away. But of course I couldn't sleep after that. I waited till early morning. Morning, as soon as the sun began to come up, I quickly took all my blankets, everything, and jumped out. When I jumped out, there were some shepherds from the village going with goats, They screamed and jumped off. Then they stood like this. I said, what happened? They said, oh, you must be a great yogi. I said, why? Did you spend the night in the cave? I said, yes. And you're alive? I said, yes. Oh, they started falling at my feet. Simple villages, And they took me home, they gave me food. I said, don't go, Baba, stay with us for 3 days at least. I said, no, I have to go. So, this is why they say safe place. Sit in a safe place. Because you never know. And in the early days, in the beginning of the 70s, like in 1971 and so on, Rishikesh had such big scorpions, this big, black. One shot is enough. You might think you're dying immediately. Of course, people don't die so easily with scorpion bites, but it's painful. So, look for a clean place. Neither too high nor too low. All these are because of that. And make sure that you're protected. So that's why sadhus build kutis, cottages, and sit inside. In the night they close it. They don't sit in the open air. First of all, it's too cold in winter. So, holding the body, head and neck erect, motionless and firm, gazing at the tip of the nose or here, any center, that's okay. It's mainly to fix your attention somewhere so that your eyes and mind do not wander. That's the meaning here. Fearless. Don't think all the time the tiger is coming. Fearless, serene, restrained in mind, and established in the vow of continence. Here continence means established in the vow of not wasting your energy for unnecessary things. Holding your energies as much as you can to yourself, that gives increased strength to the human body and mind. The same energy which is wasted otherwise can be reversed and made to become spiritual energy. It's tremendous energy when you can do that. Then he should sit in spiritual communion with the great inner self, looking upon the inner self as the highest and the most precious end. With the mind restrained from going outward to objects and always uniting with the inner being, the yogi attains to peace, which is supreme salvation, and gets established in my state, says Krishna. Here it would mean that Krishna is saying that I am a purely spiritual being, and a yogi who does all that I said gets established in the state in which I am. He is no more different from me. Then we read the other thing, we don't have to elaborate. Oh Arjuna, success in yoga is not for him who eats too much or eats too little. It's also not for those who sleep too much or sleep too little. Okay? Then, for one who is temperate in food and recreation, who is detached and self-restrained while working, who is regulated in sleep and staying awake, yoga brings about the cessation of all sorrow, all the troubles of samsara, meaning troubles of the world. When the disciplined mind is able to remain established in the Atman alone, in the inner self alone. So it goes like this, from sense objects to the inner mind, from the mind to a mind which is almost free of distraction, and then to a calm and tranquil mind, and from the tranquil mind to the pure ego, and from the pure ego to the consciousness which is behind it, which gives the ego the capacity to say I, the consciousness. So a yogi who does with a disciplined mind remains established in the Atman alone, then he is free from longings of any kind of desire. This is called spiritual communion. Then we stopped with the 19th. The flame of a lamp sheltered from the wind does not flicker. This is the comparison used to describe a yogi's mind that is well under control and united with the Atman. The mind of a yogi is like a flame which is protected from the wind and therefore does not flicker. This is flickering. That's where we stopped. This was a review, okay? 20. That state in which the mind, chitta, with its movements restrained by the practice of yoga, you know how the mind is, it's always moving, constantly, chattering, moving. Through the practice of yoga, as described before, following the qualities necessary, when the yogi achieves that state in which the chitta or the mind stuff is not moving anywhere, it's still and quiet, such a yogi then finds rest. And in that rest is experienced the joy of the spirit, born of the higher mind, which is purified and which is tranquil, being in touch with the spirit. Don't think we need to explain this, do we? No. The mind which is at rest. Yeah, if you have questions, we can discuss in the afternoon session. But the mind which is free, which is restrained, where thought is not moving up and down, silent. In the beginning, there is one thought, which is also thought, that I am now at rest. I'm not concerned about. I'm fully at rest, quiet. When this happens, there is suddenly a flow of a very beautiful bliss into the mind. Blissful feeling, which happiness and bliss nowhere in this world can one experience. It is joyous. Now it happens only when the mind is at rest. When the mind, through the practice of meditation, to understanding all that has been said, comes to rest, when the mind is not ceaselessly chattering. From birth to death, it's chattering. The chattering has ceased. The mind is at rest. In that absolute rest, one becomes blissful. That bliss is coming from the consciousness. The purified mind is just experiencing it. Consciousness doesn't have to experience it, because it is consciousness. But the mind is experiencing this. It's somewhat like saying that I know that my eyes exist because I can see you all. Yeah, proof that my eyes exist. I cannot see my own eyes, but I can see others' eyes. I can see a reflection in the mirror. It's not the same thing. I can't see my own eye. But I cannot say my eyes don't exist, because without that I won't see anything else. The consciousness pure is similar to this somewhat. Examples are not so perfect, so it's the seer of everything. So there is no necessity for it to see itself. So what is it that is experiencing the bliss of the spirit? It is the mind, purified mind, which is experiencing. The state in which the mind, with its movements restrained by the practice of yoga, finds rest. It's a great rest, believe me. Can you imagine that all our life, our mind has been chattering? We have been trying to say stop, but it's not stopping. And one day suddenly it stops. What do you think? How do you think it will be? It's tremendous. It's like getting rid of a burden. That's the experience of the spirit. You're just barely aware. Nothing is happening. This is the experience of the joy of the spirit born of the higher mind, which means the quiet, tranquil, trained mind, intuiting the spirit, in which, beautiful word is used in Sukham Matyantikam, in which the yogi experiences that endless bliss, which is beyond the understanding of the senses or the mind, but is intuited by the purified intellect, therein established in that state. One does not move from the truth. One is established in the truth of one's being, inner being, which is the true self of all of us, apart from the temporary selves that we associate with. Now, therefore, having obtained which, if this happens, having obtained which, no other gain is considered as great. When that is touched, one realizes there is no other gain which is as good as this, because it has suddenly stopped all the unnecessary chatterings that are going on continuously. Having obtained which, no other gain is considered as greater. Remaining in which, one is not shaken even by the heaviest of afflictions. Now, therefore, it admits that even after that, afflictions may happen, because you are living in this world, right? We are living in this world. But established there, the heaviest of afflictions cannot shake one, because one knows one's true essence is that blissful, quiet, tranquil. Nothing can disturb it. So not that afflictions may not happen, may happen, because we live in this world of samsara, but they will not affect one. There is no way to escape afflictions, but there is a way to understand that no afflictions can affect you in your true sense, in your true essence. Now, Krishna describes yoga to Arjuna, defines yoga as severance of connection with pain. He says the definition of yoga, tam vidyat, dukkha samyoga viyogam. Yoga Satnitam. Understand that yoga is freedom from connection with pain forever. The severance from the root of pain is defined by Krishna as yoga here. Then he adds a very practical thing. It has to be practiced tirelessly with determination. Just because we hear this, it doesn't mean it's all done. You need to practice every day what was done tirelessly without getting tired of it. Abandoning imagination-born longings totally. Restraining all the senses with the mind on every side and setting the mind firmly on the self. Under the direction of the steadfast, purified intellect, one should practice tranquility little by little and abstain from all kinds of thought. Little by little, it may not happen suddenly one day. Well, when it happens suddenly one day. But for that, all these preparations are required. It's like, plowing the field, pulling out the weeds, watering, keeping it free of weeds every now and then planting the seed. Now you plant the seed, the next day you don't see your potatoes or whatever. It takes time. In the same way, keep clearing the earth, plant your seed, and be patient. One day it will sprout and you'll get a beautiful plant coming out. You cannot speed it up, there is no way. And don't every day pull out the plant to see if the roots have come. That's the end of it. Leave it. Keep doing, people are, I meditated for 6 weeks. Then, am I free of that attachment there? You're pulling it out before it's matured to see if the roots have come. That's the end of the tree. Leave it there. Be patient. Work on it. And if it gets dry, don't forget to water it. Watch, wait. So the ultimate is patience. Patience is a very important part of one's spiritual life. But today we expect everything shortcuts. It has to happen. So for spiritual evolution, there are no shortcuts. Yeah, there is a shortcut, but it is the most difficult cut. It is, you may call it a shortcut, but it's a very difficult cut. There is one. Cut the ego into two. Okay. This is not possible. So be patient and go slowly. This is what they're trying to advise. Abandoning imagination-born longings. It's when you sit down, the imagination builds up and their entirety, restraining all the senses with the mind on every side. Protect yourself, especially when you're sitting. And setting the mind firmly on the self internally, under the direction of a steadfast mind, intellect, one should practice tranquility little by little. That's a nice usage, little by little. And abstain from every kind of thought. From whatsoever reason this wavering and fickle mind wanders away, it should be curved and brought back to abide in the self again. As you watch quietly as you go into meditation, you notice, you and I, all of us, everything is quiet. There's one part of the mind going towards something. One. Could be just one or two. That's the time when you say, hey, we will think about it later, come back. Let's go within. Let's turn the tide. Not flow with the tide, go inside. It can come in different ways. You're on the verge of everything is silent, then comes one imagination, it takes you away. So, watch carefully, be alert, and bring it back. If this happens, if and when it happens, supreme bliss wells up in the yogi, who is tranquil, whose passions are subdued, who is free from impurities. Such a person is supposed to have attained the Brahmic state. Thus, ever engaged in making the mind steadfast in spiritual communion, and having all the impurities of the mind removed thereby, the yogi easily experiences the intense bliss of contact with the Brahman. 29. The one of spiritual insight, established in the same-sightedness. Here, same-sightedness means established in the understanding that the inner self is all that is real and everything else is coming and going. In the bliss of the inner self. This was what I was going to tell. The bliss of the inner self, yeah. We are of the opinion, we meaning some people like us, are of the opinion that all the joys of this world that we experience, even this world, are merely a small bit of joy of the inner self. We like to think that we are enjoying it, but it's actually tapping into a small degree of bliss from the inner being. Even physical things. When I eat an apple or a fruit and enjoy it, if you look carefully, the enjoyment is not in the fruit. Enjoyment is in me, right? The fruit doesn't enjoy it. I enjoy it. Now, which means inside me is a large storage of bliss. A little bit of it comes out when I say I'm enjoying the fruit. It's so with all sensory enjoyments. The joy that comes is not the quality of that object, but it's a small part of my true self becoming manifest, enjoying. So imagine how it would be if you go to the source, the whole, not the little things that we enjoy, but the whole, W-H-O-L-E, whole. Can you imagine? It's mind-shattering. Even the little joys that we have, they are quite enough to overtaken by the mind. But here is something which is the storehouse, the essence of all joy. So the joy that we seek even in the outside world, the freedom that we seek even in the outside world, is actually the seeking of the inner self, which is the essence of all this, but we are looking in the opposite direction for it. There was a great saint, a yogi in Banaras, in Varanasi, whose name was Kabir Das. He was a weaver. He used to sit the whole day and weave. He was not a lazy guy sleeping. You know the hand weaving, tuck, 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 weaving cloth. And he sang while he did it. And his songs are very important. They are treasured in India. by various religions. And they're called dohas. In one of them, he talks about a musk deer. You know what's a musk deer? A deer, not what is this deer that is here?
Reindeer.
A reindeer. This is a smaller one. It's not a reindeer. It's only this much. It's in the upper Himalayas. It's called a musk deer. You know, musk that you use in the perfume, that musk comes from the musk deer. It's a natural substance. Yeah. So in a certain season, the musk deer has a small bag under its belly. Yeah. And in a certain season, musk is produced in the bag. Musk. And there is a fragrance in the air. Beautiful fragrance. The whole place is fragrant of musk. In Sanskrit and Hindi and in all most Indian languages, musk is called kasturi. So the animal is called a kasturi mriga, the musk deer. Now, when this fragrance wraps in the air, the deer can also smell it, but it doesn't know where it's coming from. It doesn't know the source. It goes looking for the source everywhere in the forest. It puts its snout into thorny bushes, bleeds, but it doesn't know that it is coming from its belly, near the belly button. And Kabir said, this is the problem with us human beings. We search for happiness, carrying it inside us, looking everywhere for it. If you only turn a bit and look within, then if you have, then you find the source of all enjoyment. And so even in the outside world, when you enjoy, you reflect it. You say, oh, this is from the storage, from the stock that is already there. Yeah. So we are all actually searching for it, but in different ways. The one who succeeds is one who realizes that it is here. So turn back and look inside. Then you are no longer the musk deer who bleeds. So this is what I was going to tell you. That all enjoyments are sacred because they are only a manifestation of the supreme enjoyment. And they are all full of light, but only small light. The full light is inside. But for that, you have to be single-pointedly looking for it inside. You should see only that. For if thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. Somebody said that long ago. So, Yogi experiences the intense bliss of the Brahman. The person of spiritual insight, established in same-sightedness, since he has discovered the self, true self within him, sees the same self as residing in all beings. Look, if there is a source of joy, which is the true essence of me, it cannot be that I am some peculiar creature. Everybody has it. So when the yogi sees this, he also sees it in others. And therefore, he considers everybody same. Well, that person may not have discovered it, that's okay. But the yogi sees it and therefore he recognizes it also in others. No matter that person has formed it or not, it's a different story, but yes, we see it. There is nobody who does not have as one's inner being, the core of one's consciousness, that all-pervading blissful Brahman. Every being. So a yogi who experiences it himself, experiences it in others, and therefore a yogi always respects everybody, because the same spirit in me is the spirit in you. So everybody deserves to be respected. Now this is same-sightedness that comes from inner experience, not the political socialism, not the economic and political socialism. We say that in every human being there is a spark of the divine. Okay? If in every human being, well, it's our experience. If in every human being there is a spark of the divine, everybody is equal. It's called Vedantic socialism. Not the other, not the economic socialism. So, such a person, a yogi, sees the self residing in all beings, and all beings as resting in the ultimate self. Now here, Krishna is speaking not as the figure Krishna sitting there, as one who is established in the inner self. He's speaking now from a different angle. He is not talking as the figure Krishna, but as the Supreme Beings, who is the essence of all being. So he says, he who sees me in all beings, and all beings in me, to such a person I am never lost, nor he loses me. And because he sees everybody, in everywhere there is the self. So what is there to lose? There is nothing to lose. And if nobody is there, still there is there is nothing to lose. Now, what is the time? It is 11.
You have a clock there in your wrist.
Yes, I have. It is 10 past 11. I'm looking at this. 10 to 11 is Satsang.
And it's no problem whatsoever.
No problem?
Follow your
No short break?
Yeah, of course we will have lunch then, so it's long break. The short break is only to prepare the lunch, so we
No.
carry on and then we
Okay. So, established in the unity of all existence, established in the unity of all existence, that the ultimate existence is one single supreme reality, although it appears as many. Established in the unity of all existence, a yogi, then what does he do? Serves me, present in all beings. Okay, then the yogi, seeing the Supreme Spirit in everyone, serves everybody. Because that is the worship that the yogi does. He serves everybody because he sees every living being, of course human being also, as a moving, breathing temple of the divine. No need for any concrete structures. This is a living temple. It's not a temple made of mortar or wood. It's a living temple. What better service can one do than serving a living temple? This is the state of the yogi. Established in the unity of all existence, a yogi serves me, present in all beings, and always remains in me. His outer mode of life may be anything. He may be a teacher, he may be a woodcutter, he may be anything. He may be doing anything in his life. But deep down, his inner self abides in the bliss of the Supreme. And seeing that it is the same self that is in other beings, he serves them. So therefore, Arjuna, in my view, that yogi is the best who, out of a sense of identity with others, seeing the same Atman, the same self in all, feels the joy and suffering as his own. So, when such a yogi lives in this world, has no sorrow, he is free. Okay? But there are people who haven't reached that state who are still suffering from sorrow. Now the yogi sees that sorrow as his own because it's the same self and tries to say, look, there is a treasure of joy inside you. Please get over this sorrow. So he's busy trying to mitigate the sorrows of mankind, no matter what happens. The yogi, true yogi, has nothing to gain or lose, right? So established in that state, he tries his best, or she tries his best, to bring about that state in others. And if they are in sorrow, try to take. Now, if somebody has no food for 10 days, there is sorrow. You cannot go there and say, meditate, right? It's not practical. So, provide food first. Get the person to eat and become healthy. Then you talk about meditation, not before that. So, when you say the yogi tries to help others who are in sorrow with his joy, it doesn't mean that he says, come on, you are in sorrow, meditate. No. First, you have to mitigate the sorrow so the mind is able to meditate. How will the mind meditate if it is always outside, caught up in different difficulties and sorrows? So, a yogi being very keen that everybody should understand the self because it's so easy. But in that situation, it may not be possible. So, he tries to look after that person, bring that person to the level where he can then experience the joy. And once he touches the inner reality, he doesn't have to ask anybody. He knows exactly what to do, how to live, everything falls into place. So that's what we are looking at. Even if a little bit we have grasped of what we discussed. Now, I will stop here with Arjuna's question. Having listened to all of this, Arjuna has a question. Every now and then he has a question. He says, hey, wait a minute. Sen. How? Arjuna says, there is a story in the Puranas, in the Mahabharata, that Krishna slayed an evil, an evil being called Madhu. This is also Madhu. So, O slayer of Madhu, Madhusudhana, it's a beautiful name, Madhusudhana. It means slayer of Madhu, the demon. O slayer of Madhu, owing to the fickleness of the mind, I find no way of firmly establishing myself in spiritual communion through equanimity as instructed by you. He's saying, you said keep the mind steady like the flame that is not affected by the wind. It's not possible for me. I cannot do it. It's a tall order. Owing to fickleness of my mind, I find no way to firmly establish in spiritual communion through equanimity as instructed by you, because my mind is always agitated. O Krishna, the mind, verily, is so fickle, turbulent, powerful, and unyielding. I think you had better ask me to control the wind. I would have done it, but not my mind. To control it, I think it is more difficult than controlling the wind itself. So what do I do? That is the question. It's interesting. He heard the whole thing till now. Every now and then there is Arjuna asking, which is why in the beginning the Gita says Arjuna is the calf who hits his head on the udder and the mother cow gives milk. So every now and then he hits. He says, this is not possible. Please, can you explain this to me? So, owing to the fickleness of the mind, I find no way of firm establishment in spiritual communion through equanimity, as instructed by you. Verily, the mind is fickle, chanchal, turbulent, restless, powerful, and unyielding. Control it, I think, is difficult. Maybe controlling the wind is easier. And there Arjuna stops. We also stop. So that particular two slokas are mentioned in the Gita as Arjuna Vacha. So said Arjuna. Then it comes back, Sri Bhagavan Vacha. So said Krishna. So now Krishna is trying to explain to Arjuna, hey, you're right, but don't worry. We will work on this. So I'm also saying to you and to myself, oh Arjuna, don't worry. We will do it. That's interesting. Now that Arjuna is feeling desperate and despondent and dejected, depressed, Krishna, like a good psychiatrist, wants to pull him up. So he starts by addressing him as Mahabaho, which means, oh, mighty armed one. Because he's there with the bow and arrow and all the weapons of war. So he says, oh, mighty armed one, Mahabaho, and then explains. Suspense afterwards. Like this. Very nice. It's an intimate discussion between two good friends, like you and me.
Thank you so much. Sri Madhu.
This Madhu is different. Madhukar, not. But Babaji always called me Madhu. I have not heard anybody saying Madhu as so sweetly and so caring. And Madhu was different. Not that he didn't call me idiot, many times he did. But even that was sweet.
The Puba. What was the idiot? Puba. Buba. Is that the idiot? The word for idiot?
Buddhu.
Buddhu, yeah.
One day he told me, I thought I will make you like the Buddha, but you have become a Buddhu. And you know my reply, yes, Bhagavad. So it's like that. Anyway, so I think we should slowly unglue ourselves from the seats. Can we say Shanti 3 times? Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.